Okay, so now that we know what is R and what is RStudio, how to do simple basic coding in RStudio, now it's time to move to Rmarkdown. Let's see what is Rmarkdown. And remember guys, at the end of the day, we are going to write all the homeworks in Rmarkdown. Rmarkdown is a documentation program. It comes with RStudio, so you don't need to install anything extra. Okay. And as a side note, I just look at the folder. Uh, I realized something that you should know as well. Um, when you close, let me see. Where's the folder? Wherever you save your R basics. Nah, let's go back. Show it from here. Remember, so you're at home. You download this thing on your computer. It goes to your download folder. I highly recommend you to move it from the download folder and put it somewhere on your desktop, but give it proper name. No, for instance, copy this one. Again, I know it sounds very basic and stupid that I'm doing it, but I have seen students having difficulties, cleaning their desktop or the folder. Make sure to do something like this. Make a new folder. I don't know, call it econometrics. I don't know, call it econometrics, whatever the course number that, and inside that makes a bunch of subfolders. So let's, I want you to make, R codes, and because you have slides, codes, and exams, and etc. In the R codes, I want you to make something like this. So for instance, class. The classes that we cover are materials, class 3 or class, whatever, introduction to R. And then put your file here. So the one that you downloaded, from Canvas, put it there. And once you put it there, open the file. So let me put it in the folder, sorry. Cut. Let me put it in the folder, paste it here. Let me go ahead and close my RStudio. Okay, so this is a folder that you generated, right? Econometrics, R codes, class 3, and etc. Make sure the RStudio is closed, and then you double click on these things, and RStudio will automatically open when you double click there. So there is a reason that I want you to do it this way, because if you open RStudio directly from the folder that you're going to work on, then your working directory is going to be automatically set to that folder. So if you're curious what is working directory, how do we deal with working directory, you don't need to be worried about it for this course, but it's a general knowledge. So for that, I think if you go over the first 40 pages of this textbook, it's going to help you out. So what is working directory? How you set your working directory? Basically, that's the directory that RStudio is referring to. So if I go to file, if I go to files now, it says that this is the working directory. So if I say get working directory, this is the folder that I just created. It's in my desktop, econ, so this is your folder. If you don't do it like this, so if you close RStudio, if you have RStudio open from your computer, whatever it is, the RStudio here, then your working directory is going to be a different thing. So if I go to my working directory, you see it's by default in your document folder. Okay, so I highly recommend you do not open RStudio from start. Just for the first time, maybe yes, you want to get your hands dirty, play around with it. But when you have some files already available, I want you to open it up from the folder that you're going to work with. And with that, if you do it that way, your working directory is going to be automatically set to that. And did you guys realize that when I close this thing, some other file was automatically generated? So this is .r history. You don't need to do anything with that. It's going to be automatically here, so don't worry about it. Don't even if you erase it, nothing is going to happen. Next time when you open R, close R, it's going to be there. And what is that? So if I run the first line, close R, It says that, do you want to save, your workspace? If I say yes, right? Then I have our data and our history. Now, if I open our basics again one more time, look what you see. You see, this X is already there. So let me give you another example. Let's have Y. So if I do not save it, so if I close it and do not save it, next time when I open it, what do you expect to see? Y is not there, right? It's only X. Are you following? If I erase it and open it, just make sure you don't erase the main file, which is the R script. There's nothing there, right? It really doesn't matter. These are just cosmetic things, but because I have had students that were confused, what are lots of different things that is generated when I run the codes, these are basically, and it really doesn't matter if you press save or don't save, because our data sets are small. Each time we can quickly load up the entire data sets and whatever we have done before. So this is used for when your data set is big, you want to save, for instance, you have run the first 300, 400 lines of the code, you don't want to run it again, so you just save it in your R data, and that's it. But again, for our purpose in the course, don't worry about any of these things, and don't worry if you accidentally drop, erase them. The main thing that I want you to realize is that, do not erase this file, and when you're making changes in that file, please make sure that you press, you save it, because otherwise this save is different than the other save that you got when you had an output in the model, when you have variables in the environment. Just make sure that you save your R script. Okay, keep it simple. That's one thing. Then now I want to work in this folder, right? So this is introduction to R. Let's make let's stay in this folder, and because I open my RStudio here, then my working directory is going to be that folder. Remember, so on your computer it's your name, desktop, and whatever you put it. Now let me clear the console. Now let's go to our Markdown. What is our Markdown? Guys, you remember that in RStudio you have to talk R language, otherwise R is going to complain. R Markdown has solved that things for you. So R Markdown says that, talk to me in plain English. I understand that. And then whenever you want to write things in R, just put it in the R chunk. Okay, so this is, and then I will give you an output, which is a clean version of a document. It can be PDF, it can be HTML, it can be Word document. In this course, we're going to use only Word document. So we are in the R Markdown section. Let's begin. Okay, how can I generate the R Markdown section? Do you see, guys, this little blue thing, and there's an R inside it? So this is our script. If I click on the plus sign, these are different things that I can generate within the RStudio. The first one is our script that we're going to work a lot in this course. Then our notebook, our notebook, again, these are different features that we can do with RStudio. We can have with RStudio. It's very powerful. This interface, I love RStudio myself. It's one of my, I think, first preferences when it comes to coding, because it's very flexible. You can write your even Python script in it. You can write your C++ script, SQL, D3, you name it, HTML. But in this course, we're going to do our script and our Markdown. So the difference between them, the extension is going to be .r. The extension for this one is going to be .rmd. I'm going to show the file which is generated later on. But let's say I click on this one. When I click on this one, our Markdown, it's going to give me a template. So don't freak out that there are lots of coding. It's a template. So the title, just write it, test Markdown. This is your name. And again, for this class, I want you to make sure that your output is Word, because if you want to generate a nice, clean, neat PDF, you have to install LaTeX language on top of whatever you have. So you need extra installation. You have to go to this page. Everything you need to know. Where are we? About LaTeX, I put it in parentheses, optional, because again, you really don't need to do it. But if you're super curious how to do that, this is this is where you should go. You click on it, install LaTeX in Windows or Mac, and then there are some troubleshooting. Again, if you wanted to get some clean PDF out of your homework or your project, or some document in general. But for this course, everything is due in Microsoft Word document. So you don't need to do any extra installation. So make sure that you click on Word, and if it is, sorry, not Word, Word. If it is Word, you don't need to install anything else. So it's a document, it's not a presentation, you can make a slide. It's a document, and then click OK. If I click OK, then it comes with a template. Okay. So what is this template? We are not, well, let me start from scratch. We don't do anything with the first 6, 7 lines. So basically the title is here. You can manually change the title. So let's do something, homework. In our next class, when I come to class, I will do part of homework 2 in Markdown, and it will give that template to you. You can use it for your own homework. Okay, so don't worry about it. But let's say, let's make a quick document here together. So it's your name. This is the date, and the output. Don't change this one. This is a Word document, and then so we don't do anything with the first lines, right? Do you see there's a difference between color here? It's there's this shaded area, and then I have some white space, shaded area, white space, and then shaded area, etc. Okay. So what are these things? These shaded areas are what we call our chunks. Okay. So you have to say 3 of these little things, and then open close bracket are. Don't worry, you don't need to do it manually. Automatically we can insert chunk. So I'll talk about it later on. But basically this is R, this is plain English, this is R, this is plain English. Okay. Now let me go ahead and erase the template. The reason that I want you to do it this way, because at least you can get familiar with how you can make things bold and etc. But let me quickly explain it to you, and then we go back to the template. Let me erase everything. Okay. So the first difference between Markdown and R is that, look at this. This is RMD. Well, if you zoom in on your computer, you'll see there's a little RMD written here, and this is R Markdown, and it's red, this is blue. Okay. I want to write this is a test. If I was in R, if I was in our script, if I write this is a test without a hashtag, I will get an error. But here I will not get an error because it's plain English. Our Markdown is supposed to translate that plain English for me and give me a nice Word document output, right? So let's see if it is able to do that. So how do I generate the document? So when you're done with whatever you want to write, come here, there's this knit button, click on this little thing, make sure that you knit to Word. So if you're doing it for the first time, it's going to take a while because it's behind the scene. It's going to install our Markdown package, but let's do it together. The first time only it takes time. Afterward, it's going to be super fast, depending on how many lines of code you have here. Okay, I clicked on knit to Word and said that where do you want to save it? So I want to save it here. Do you remember I told you that open the R file wherever the folder is. Otherwise, so if it is your desktop, make sure that you go to the right folder. So let's give it a name. Let's call it homework 2, I don't know, template, and press save. Okay, multiple things is going on. So because there was nothing there, it happened very fast. There was this stop sign here. If you see a stop sign there, it's doing something, it's running something behind the scene. Again, my computer is a little fast, So maybe yours for the first time is going to take a little longer. So don't worry, just give it enough time. Sometimes it's installing dependence packages. Now, remember we only used to have console, now we have Rmarkdown as well, okay? So Rmarkdown is basically, if you get an error when you're typing things here, it will show up here, okay? There's no error here, so it was successfully compiled. And did you see that this Word document was automatically opened? So this is what is generated out of our Markdown, right? So this is the title, this is the author, and remember I wrote this as a test. And pay attention, this Word document which automatically opens is read-only. Do not make any changes here. That's not the goal. Don't do something like this ever. First of all, you cannot because it's read-only. Second of all, we are using our Markdown to avoid writing things in Microsoft Word. We want to make sure that it's automatically generated, okay? So let's close this, and let me make changes. So let's do it, okay? And then compile it again. Make sure you compile it, knit it into Word. If I knit it into Word, so you see what's going on? It wants to override it, so make sure that you close it. Don't save it, and then compile it again. Okay, so let's do it. I think if I make changes, make changes here, it's going to show up. Let's see, make changes. It will automatically. You don't need to close this thing, in my opinion. Yeah, you don't need to close it. So the reason that the first time it was complaining is that I made some changes there, so that was complaining. So you don't need to close and open it every time, as long as you know you are updating your Rmarkdown. Okay, so let's close it. And I didn't explain it to you, so let's go back to the folder and see what is there. You will be surprised. So you remember, this is the folder. So there are two things automatically generated. So the first one is RMD. So this is the type of the extension that you're going to submit for your homework. And this was automatically generated, the Word document, right? After it's compiled and knitted into document, you can open it. You can do some cosmetic things if you want, you know. But again, you can do all these things within R. But if you don't know, if you want to make a table of contents, something more advanced in Word documents, you can. Even though all of these things, table of contents, you know, any kind of formatting things that you can imagine that you can do in Microsoft Word, the more advanced version is available in Markdown. So again, that's your call. If you want to change the color, you think that it's easier, you want to do something like this and then submit it to your TA, feel free to do that. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to our Markdown and continue. So why are we doing this? Because we want to write, because if you're going, at the end of the day, if my homework looks like this, so why am I using Markdown? So because, you know, look at that. I could have generated these things without Markdown, like your homework 1, which you're expected to submit. I can write my stuff here and then be done with it. The reason that in this course we are using Rmarkdown is that because we're going to do lots of stuff in R and then write lots of comments and explanation in plain English, and we want to put it together and then generate a nice Word document. Okay, so I'll give you a very quick example here, but when I come to class next Tuesday, we will work on this template together. Okay, so let's keep this video short and insert some basic R chunk and see how it looks like. So for instance, let me insert a chunk. So you click on this insert thing and then do R chunk. You see, now it's R chunk. So it's a shaded area. This is way different than this. This is our language. In this environment, we can put multiple space. You have to speak our language. So if I say this is Pedram, what do you expect to see? R is going to complain. Look at that. there's already one cross sign here. It says that, what are you telling me? I don't understand. Okay, because this shaded area is R, the white areas are plain English. Does that make sense? Okay, so whenever I am in this chunk, I have to talk R language. So let me show you something. Let's look at the head of empty cars. I want to look at the head of empty cars, and now if I knit this one, you will like it, you know, especially if this is the first time that you're seeing something like this. Let's knit it to Word. Voila. Right, so whatever I wrote there in the R, the output is going to be shown here as well, right? So this is why we are using Markdown. You know, your homework is going to be a combination of R things and plain English, putting it all together in one Word document. So that's the power of R Markdown. Okay, there are many details that, for instance, if you don't like these hashtags, we can get rid of those hashtags. So for instance, I think it was NA comments. Yeah, comments NA. It's been a while that I haven't used it, but I think that's it. So let's get rid of the hashtags. There are very details that we, getting rid of the hashtags and etc. I'll talk about the details in the classroom. But before closing this section, again, R Markdown has lots of more details, but I just want to, I know by now you should be overwhelmed by the previous videos, and I try to keep this Markdown video very short. So before closing it, let's look at the template that was coming with the R Studio. So let's make a new R Markdown. I'll just call it test, Microsoft Word. Okay, so this is a template. Let's see, how does this one look like? So this is the original template that comes with R Studio. Remember what I did, I erased everything and did my own script, right? So let's see, what is this one? Yeah, let's call it test. It's an RMD file. Look at the output. There you go. So your homework at the end of the day looks something like this. There's a section, you know, header, and then you can have a link. If I click on this thing, it will navigate me to the website. You can see there are some bold words. There's another header. There's a plot, then and etc. Right? And all of these things was done through our Markdown, something like this. Okay. And yeah, I'll talk about the details of these things later on in the next class. But remember, you don't need to memorize any of these things. It will be automatically generated by dealing with the things here. One last thing, if you're curious, if you want to do some study before coming to the class and explore it on your own, I recommend you use the help. Go to the cheat sheets. There's a nice cheat sheet for R Markdown as well. So there are two cheat sheets. One is the reference, the other one is to basically tell you how you can go back and forth between. So there's this is the PDF. So this is the R Markdown. Generally walk you through what are the capabilities of R Markdown, and then the other cheat sheet is if you want to make a header, if you want to make italic, bold, and things like that. So reference guide. So this is a reference guide. So this is what you type in Markdown. This is what you see as an outcome. So if I do nothing, well, this is plain text. If I want to make it italic, I have to use 1 star without the space. You know, R Markdown is very sensitive. Unlike R Markdown is sensitive into spaces. So there's 0 space here, no star, italic. So this is the output. 2 stars, make it bold. And then again, 1 header, number 1, 1 hashtag, number 2, 2 hashtags, and there is a space. Again, you know, our Markdown is very sensitive to spaces. If you don't put a space, you know, you get a different output. And you can make a table and things like that. Okay, just go ahead and have fun with that. And I'll leave you with that, I believe. So what's the plan for the next class? When I come to class, I finish our R script code line through 230 to 330ish, and then I will do a homework template. So make sure after watching these videos you complete the quiz for class number 3.